Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Congressman Rick Larsen's live telephone town hall on COVID-19. My name is Joe Totino, and I will be moderating tonight's call. I want to thank everyone for taking the time to join us tonight, and we hope you find this call informative. Congressman Larsen will be taking as many questions from constituents as he possibly can during tonight's call. If you have a question, you can press *3 on your phone keypad at any time, and you will be placed in line to speak with a member of our staff. They will then take down your name, where you are from, and a brief summary of your question. The next time you hear your name on the call, you will be live, and you will be able to ask your question directly. If you are streaming the event on the website, welcome. You can simply type your name and question below the streaming player. And as you can imagine tonight, for folks on the phone and online, we will receive a lot of questions during tonight's event. So if we are not able to address your question, please stay on the line and leave a voicemail after the event. You can send us an email at rick.larsen@mail.house.gov, or you can call our office at 425-252-3188. Again, if you have any questions throughout the town hall tonight, please press *3 on your keypad or type them below the streaming player online. Now, I will turn it over to Congressman Larsen.
Hey, good evening, and thank you all for joining me tonight. I'm Congressman Rick Larsen and represent the 2nd District. As many of you know, it stretches from Mount Lake Terrace in the south to Bellingham in the north and includes all of Island and San Juan counties. Here's how tonight's telephone town hall is going to play out. I'm going to give a brief update on the COVID-19 response in Congress. Then I'm going to introduce Commissioner Suzi LeVine, who is the Commissioner for the Washington State Employment Security Department. And then she'll say a few words. Then I'll introduce Duane Fladland. And Duane is the Director of the Washington Small Business Development Center. Those are my two guests this evening. I, of course, and we all will be taking your questions and comments for about an hour after we're done talking. And as Joe mentioned, if you have any questions, please press *3 on your keypad or type them in below the streaming player. And we'll get to as many questions as we can tonight. So to start, Congress has been acting to protect Americans from COVID-19 and reduce the economic harm caused by the pandemic. Our two big bills have been the Families First Coronavirus Response Act and the CARES Act. I do want to highlight for you two resource guides that are on my website that have more information about help for individuals and families and help for small businesses. And those, again, are on my website. Those two resource guides are on my website. I do want to, though, address a couple of issues as a matter of introduction. First, on the issue of unemployment. The CARES Act, which we passed about 10 days ago, expands who's eligible for unemployment, extends how long people can collect unemployment benefit, and increases how much is in each weekly check. We expanded who's eligible by including independent contractors, the self-employed, and gig economy workers. We extended how long people can collect unemployment benefits by 13 weeks. And we increased how much is in each weekly check by $600 more per week. And you can apply through the state at the Employment Security Department website, esd.wa.gov, and can sign up for email alerts there as well. And Commissioner LeVine is going to be able to answer questions about the programs that are available there, as well as give us more details when she speaks. I want to address direct payments. The CARES Act includes direct payments to Washingtonians to help make ends meet. Now, the maximum amount for this one-time payment is $1,200 per person, or $2,400 per couple, a married couple who filed jointly. Payments should likely begin to go out to folks in our state who have direct deposit information on file with the IRS as soon as next week. So again, payments should start going out next week if you have direct deposit information on file with the IRS. About 3 weeks after those deposits go out, those checks go out to your direct deposit, the IRS will begin issuing paper checks to individuals. Physical checks will be issued in reverse income order starting with people with lowest income first. Now, there's been a question about Social Security beneficiaries. If you're a Social Security beneficiary, you will not need to file any additional forms to receive payments. However, the IRS expects to create a web-based portal by the end of April or early May to enable taxpayers to do two things: find the status of your rebate payment and to update direct deposit information. So if you're a Social Security beneficiary who does not file taxes and IRS doesn't have your information on file, you can use this web-based portal to put your direct deposit information in there, so the IRS is able to send a direct deposit check to you rather than a paper check. More information is in a resource guide on my website at larsen.house.gov. For small businesses, the CARES Act includes help for small businesses to retain employees and keep the lights on, including a program to provide cash flow assistance via SBA lenders or banks to businesses to help retain their workforce. That's called the Paycheck Protection Program. Separately, there are the Economic Injury Disaster Loans, which are low-interest loans of up to $2 million for businesses and private nonprofits suffering harm from the virus outbreak. For the Economic Injury Disaster Loans, you apply directly to the SBA at sba.gov, and Duane Fladland from the Small Business Development Centers will have more information on that when he speaks. Finally, let me just address health care. I want to assure everybody that the Washington State delegation, Democratic and Republican members, are continuing to support our state's efforts to get more testing kits, more personal protective equipment for healthcare workers and first responders, and to get faster testing results. We all know that the governor has extended the Stay Home, Stay Healthy order through May 4th, and yesterday announced that the school year, for the rest of the school year, K through 12 will not be going back to school. So there's still a lot of work left to do. But what is next? Well, Congress is going back probably in the next couple of weeks, and we're looking at doing a CARES 2.0 bill. We think we're going to have to extend the Paycheck Protection Program to help more small businesses retain employees, provide more funding to support unemployed workers, provide further support for healthcare workers, hospitals, and state and local governments, to address inequities in internet access because of the importance of internet access to K-12 online education, and to support homeowners and renters to ensure they keep a roof over their heads. So I know a lot of you didn't get on the call tonight to ask yourself, how can you help? But you can help. And you can help not just by washing your hands, staying home sick, calling the doctor if you feel unwell, wear a cloth face covering, and practice proper physical distancing. Remember, 6 feet or more. But Governor Inslee also notified the state yesterday that food banks are running low on supplies and the need is high. So Governor Inslee is calling for a statewide effort to make sure folks are fed. And you can go to a website that he's set up working with philanthropy groups called WA-foodfund.org. That's capital W, capital A, Food Fund, FOODFUND.org. So you can do something more than just what you ought to be doing to take care of yourself. You can help take care of others in this very difficult time by helping out with our local food banks by going to wafoodfund.org. So with that, I want to turn to our guests now. I know a lot of you have concerns and questions about unemployment benefits and about assistance available for small businesses. So I'm first going to call on Commissioner Suzi LeVine from the Washington State Employment Security Department, and she's going to speak for about 5 or so minutes, and then I'm going to go to Duane Fladland, who's from the Small Business Development Center. He'll speak, and then we'll go to questions. So get your questions ready, but right now I want to introduce and thank our Commissioner of the Washington State Employment Security Department, Suzi LeVine. Suzi, go ahead.
Thank you so much, Congressman Larsen. I really appreciate the opportunity to speak with your constituents and yourself and share what we are doing. First off, I want to thank people for staying home and staying healthy. That is going to help us get back on our feet as a state and to keep especially our elderly alive. And it really comes down to that. It's so critical for the long-term health of yourself and our state. But we realize that this is really hard economically and that people are in pain all across our state with regards to what's happening economically. Many have lost their jobs or their businesses, or the businesses have had to slow down operations, reduce hours, reduce staff, and we are keenly aware of that. The Employment Security Department really is designed as a spring, a shock absorber in our economic system to help. Our priorities during this crisis are, number one, get benefits out more quickly to those who are eligible. Number two, expand eligibility so that more people can access benefits. And number three, help those businesses who are hiring, especially essential workers, get access to talent. Now, a couple of key things. Congressman Larsen talked about the new Federal CARES Act and the provisions that are included in that, including the expanded eligibility, the additional benefits that people will receive, both in terms of money and time. We are working night and day to bring that system online, and we should have it ready by April 18th. However, I want to really emphasize this. I want to put it on a bumper sticker. I want to fly it up in the air behind an airplane and put it on billboards. The more prepared you are to apply, the faster you will get your money. We have found time and time again that when people are not prepared, they don't have their information together, they file incorrect information, it then takes much longer. And we have seen such unprecedented demand. We have had almost 950% increase in applications and 1,000% increase into our call center since this crisis began. And so we have very long phone queues, and we are so sorry about that. And we are working to add more staff, improve our technology, and improve the website to make it easier. But the key thing that you all can do is go to our website, go through the checklist to determine your eligibility and to put all of the materials together for your application. If you are eligible for unemployment insurance today, you can go through it and apply. And I know plenty of people who applied last week and have checks in their bank accounts this week. If you are not eligible, if you have fewer than 680 hours, if you are an independent contractor or a self-employed worker, do not apply yet. Please instead sign up for our action alerts that are also on our website, esd.wa.gov, and we will let you know what you need in order to get ready and when you can and should start signing up. So if nothing else, if you remember, go to the website, sign up for our action alerts on esd.wa.gov, and we will provide instructions about how to get ready and what you can do to prepare to apply for unemployment insurance. We are here for you. And while this is partial wage replacement and it is a last resort, we know that many people need it. And my team, like I said, is working around the clock to get this expanded insurance program available to you. And we look forward to serving you. I will pause there, and I know that there will be going to be a lot of questions that folks have. So I will open it up.
Great. Thank you so much, Suzi. I really appreciate it. This is probably everyone. This is Rick Larsen again. I want to now turn to Duane Fladland, who's the director of the Washington Small Business Development Center, joining us tonight to talk some about the small business support in the CARES Act. Duane, go ahead.
Yes, good evening, everyone, and thank you, Representative Larsen, for inviting me today. And I also want to thank a couple of my colleagues, two of our advisors that are also here today, who are working in parts of your district, Janet Toth in our Everett office, and CJ Seitz also in our Bellingham office. Both of them have been working alongside of their colleagues, 28 other colleagues across the state with the Small Business Development Center to try to be there for the small business community, and we have seen in the last several weeks an extraordinary increase in phone calls and requests for information and help, and we want to acknowledge and understand the pain and the anxiety that employers and employees are facing right now. Our hearts go out to all of you, and we want to do what we can to help you as best we can with the resources that we have. So what the Small Business Development Center, as far as how it's structured, who we are, what we do, the Small Business Development Center is partially funded by the U.S. Small Business Administration. The SBA provides sources of financing and funding and financial support that you'll hear more about tonight, and I'm sure you've seen a lot on the news media. But what the Small Business Development Center does is the one-on-one advising primarily, and we're also doing a lot more webinars and outreach training events to provide people with some of the general information that they need to make some wise business decisions in a time like this. We primarily work with businesses on a one-on-one basis, usually appointment-based. We have 30 advisors scattered across the state of Washington, and we hope to add more as soon as some additional funding, temporary funding, comes into play so that we can add capacity. Some of the things that we currently are offering right now on our website, and I would encourage everyone to go on our website. The URL is wsbdc.org for Washington Small Business Development Center.org, and click on the Protect Your Business link, and there you will find some webinars that we are offering, recurring webinars that we are offering. As a matter of fact, on April 8th, tomorrow, we have one at 1 o'clock. It's a 1-hour seminar, webinar on business survival strategies, and another one at 3 o'clock on the CARES Act and navigating the SBA loans. And we have these on a recurring basis that we'll have the same webinars on April 10th at 1 o'clock and 3 o'clock, and again on April 15th at 1 o'clock and 3 o'clock. Some of the things that we are seeing, of course, there's lots of questions people have on how do I apply for the PPP or the what's called the so-called EIDL loan, the economic injury loan. What we're finding, however, is there's been a lot of information that's gone out there across the country. Some of it is very accurate, and some of it is kind of accurate, and some of it is outdated. And so we're all challenged right now with really trying to understand and maintain exactly what all of the specific rules are as this all gets rolled out. Since a lot of this really just got started just a few days ago, there is still a lot of bumps in the road here for us to get figured out. And the SBA is doing the best it can as well to maintain a certain level of consistency in its language. So we also find ourselves deferring to the SBA on some of the details of these loans. I'm not sure if some of the folks from the SBA are here on this call this evening, but if they are, I might have to defer to them if we get into some of the more technical details, because things are changing so quickly. Some things that I would really encourage people to do, whether you apply for a loan or anything else, is really think about how you are going to be able to manage your cash flow, manage your expenses. And, you know, rule number one is communicate constantly with your creditors, with your suppliers, with your employees, and just try to let them know and communicate with them what your needs are and what the situation is, and see if you can negotiate with them to provide you some support or leeway in what some of your costs may be. Some of the things that we're really trying to focus on right now with the Small Business Development Center in terms of our role is try to be as responsive as we can to the large influx of questions. And what we really want to do as soon as possible is try to help focus some of these businesses on how they can pivot to a different strategy to survive and even to recover from this crisis. And then our hope is that as soon as possible, we can get them to be more resilient in the future in their planning. And so in the case of any other crisis similar to this, they might be a little bit more prepared. But this one is a tough one to even imagine how you could be prepared for, so we want to acknowledge all of that as well. With that, I think I probably used up my 5 minutes, so I will turn it back to the moderator.
Okay, great, thanks. This is Rick Larsen again, and I'm just going to, for everyone, I'll start off with one question for each of our guests, and then I'll turn it back over to Joe, who will then open it up for questions. So everyone should start to get their questions ready. But Suzi, my question for you is, we mentioned the date April 18th for the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance, and that is the federal program to help self-employed, independent contractors and part-time workers. Can you just be a little more clear about what this Pandemic Unemployment Assistance is versus maybe the traditional unemployment requests you're getting right now?
Absolutely. A couple of things. For one, first I want to clarify. So April 18th is when the expanded unemployment assistance goes live on our website. However, the benefit is retroactive to the date that you are eligible. And so it was set up so if you were separated from work or were impacted by COVID-19 in mid-March, you will get paid retroactively. So you'll be able to sign up starting April 18th, and then you'll get a lump sum once you get your first benefit check. So what is the difference? So today, those people who are eligible for unemployment insurance are people who have worked 680 hours or more, have a clear employment contract with an employer. There's a number of different factors that will help an individual be eligible for unemployment insurance on a regular basis. What the CARES Act did was to create think of it as a parallel system that is called Pandemic Unemployment Assistance, that extends unemployment to those who have been impacted by COVID-19 but are not otherwise eligible. And the largest groups of those are individuals who have worked fewer than 680 hours, which is a qualifying eligibility item for Washington State Washingtonians, for those who are independent contractors, and those who are self-employed. There are some other smaller categories, but those are the largest categories. So it will expand so that they can get the same types of benefits that others get. And you can, on our website, use a calculator to determine your weekly benefit. So, for example, if you make $50,000 a year, your weekly benefit is about $488 a week. So that's one example. And you can use our calculator. We have a checklist before you apply if you are going to apply for what I'll call regular unemployment insurance. We are going to be providing instructions and information so that people will understand who are not otherwise eligible and who would use this new extended and expanded insurance. What they will need in order to apply will be available both on our website, but more importantly, sign up for our action alerts, and we will tell you what you need to do. We will provide you with instructional videos. We're going to be having a whole host of information so people can get through that process more smoothly. Everybody, those currently on unemployment insurance, as well as those using pandemic unemployment assistance, will be able to get the $600 additional weekly benefit, and everybody on unemployment insurance will have the extension of 13 weeks to the traditional 26 weeks that you would have for unemployment insurance. So that is there's basically no difference in how they are treated. The difference is who is eligible versus who has previously not been eligible, conceivably could be. But we will have more of that information up on our website. Does that help answer that question, Congressman?
It does, and I imagine we may get some clarifying questions from folks as well. But that's really great. And then for
again,
Duane,
what I want to just add in there is the team, I know you all signed that into law on March 29th, and it's awesome that you did. The team is working so hard to get this new system up and running. And in certain circumstances where it's a small number, we can do things manually, but this has to be automated. So there is a technology update that will be required. And we want to make sure also that our customer service agents are ready for this, what we anticipate will be a high volume of people needing this benefit.
Got it. Good. Thank you. And Duane, my opening question for you is maybe a little brief question. It's that your website is wsbdc.org. You have two people, one from the Everett office, Janet, and one from the Bellingham office, CJ. Can I get, if I was a small business owner on this call, if I went to your website, could I get their contact information so I can call someone locally if I needed some help and advice on direction for my business?
Yes, absolutely. When you're on the main page, the homepage of our website, just click on the link Contact an Advisor, and you'll see the list of all of the advisors across the state with their contact information. Great.
Thank you so much. I think now we'll move beyond me and go to back to Joe, our moderator, and open it up for questions, about an hour or so worth of questions. Joe?
Thank you, Congressman. We have several questions on the line ready to go. Before we get those questions to go live, I just want everyone to know to press *3 at any time if you have a question. You also can press the number 1 on your phone to sign up for Congressman Larsen's e-newsletter, which is a great way to stay informed as the COVID-19 situation evolves. Also want to encourage everyone to follow Congressman Larsen on Facebook, on Twitter, @Rep. Rick Larsen, and on Instagram, Rep. Rick Larsen. With that, we will go to our first question, and it is from Susan Hansen, who has a question. She is a freelance worker. Susan, you are live.
Thank you, Congressman Larsen. Thank you so much for hosting this. And this is for Commissioner LeVine. As he mentioned, I'm a freelance writer for the travel industry, so I've seen this coming for the past few months, actually. And when I heard about the extension to freelance workers for unemployment, I jumped the gun and signed up already. So, of course, my claim was declared invalid. And now it's in appeals limbo. I've given your office all of the documentation that I had that I worked last year, but they were waiting for this April 18th date, I guess. They didn't have that yet. So my question's changed a bit. What would you recommend for me to do at this point? I've been filing every week. Once April 18th hits, will my claim automatically be filled, or what should I do?
I so appreciate that. Well, first off, Susan, thank you. One of the fun things that my daughter and I have been doing during this sequestration, so to speak, is we actually go traveling all the time online. And so thank you for your contribution to the travel industry.
Oh, that's great.
We do sort of fantasy trips. And I used to work at Expedia, so I worked with many journalists and freelancers in the travel industry.
Oh,
So,
it's been a great gig for many years.
I bet. It will be a great gig again. It will. We will get there. There will be a new normal. So that's also one of the key themes is we will get through this and we will get through this together. You should keep filing your weekly claims, so keep doing that. We just received the final guidance from the U.S. Department of Labor yesterday. So we are still determining some of the actions that those who have already filed but who were denied or who were deemed ineligible should do. So sit tight is the key action for you to do right now. And we will be crafting a communication because you are not alone. There are, frankly, tens, if not hundreds of thousands of people just like you who applied and have been declared ineligible or who were denied. And we will be reaching out to them directly with specific instructions of what to do and or what not to do. And we are still gauging that right now. So the key thing is to keep doing what you're doing of the filing of the claims, and we will provide you with instructions. And I realize we're just 11 days away from the 18th, so we are working our you-know-what's off to make sure that we're having the right instructions and make it very clear for you.
Thanks for that question, Susan. Joe?
Next up, we have Sihei on the line, a small business owner, has a question about PPE. Sihei, you are live.
Thank you, Congressman, and thank you for everybody that is staying home to stay healthy. I have an adult family home who I'm caring for 6 adult vulnerable adults right now. And I have a caregivers that come from outside. So we've been using gloves and, just a basic protection. But it's been really hard finding the PPEs, like mask, glove, and everything. So I've been running around like crazy. And is there any resource that you guys can direct me to get those?
Yeah, I'll take this one. Thanks for the question. Appreciate it. And unfortunately, I don't have a resource where you can go. The gap between supply and demand for masks, gloves, gowns is very wide still, and that's why Governor Inslee has asked local companies to change what they're doing and do something different. For instance, Outdoor Research is a company in Seattle that does a lot of clothing, a lot of sewing of military clothing, actually. And they hand sew a lot of this clothing, and it's high quality, and because we need high quality for women and men in the military. Well, that company, Outdoor Research, is shifting its focus now to begin producing masks to increase the supply here in the state. But unfortunately, the demand for personal protective equipment is very high, and it's high all across the country and, frankly, around the world. And so what you're experiencing, unfortunately, is part of a much bigger problem, and that's why I say I can't tell you there's one resource to go to. What we're trying to do in our state is to increase the supply to lower that gap between the current demand and supply. And that is the best answer I have for you tonight. Joe?
And next up, we have Lenore Norgard. She has a question about disaster loans for sole proprietors. Lenore, you're live.
Thank you, and thanks for this opportunity. My question is, I've heard from a couple of reliable sources about what they call the COVID-19 Economic Injury Disaster Grant for sole proprietors and small businesses. Both parties gave me a link at sba.gov, and I filled out the form, which was a little concerning because it had a lot of identity information like birthplace and all that on it, but I did complete it, and I'm just wondering about this. Is it legitimate? Is it something that's going to happen? Is it a grant or a loan? Because on the form it says loan, but everybody else said grant. So I'm confused. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. This is Rick Larsen. I'm going to let Duane or CJ or Janet answer that. But just to be clear, SBA.gov is the official SBA website. So it's not a scam website. SBA.gov is the official website. But I'll turn to Duane for the difference between the economic injury disaster loan and the grant.
Yeah. So the economic injury disaster loan, as I understand it, the first up to $10,000 may be, it is a loan, but it may be forgiven. Now, there's been some recent changes, or not necessarily changes, but clarifications on how this is distributed. It is based on $1,000 per employee, up to 10 employees, that you can request an assistance for. Now, I know that this loan application at first was online. It was a fairly, apparently the website was having some problems, so it did get shut down for a while. They went to just more of a hard copy where you printed off the loan application and you completed it and sent it in. And now it is back online, and it's a much less onerous process. When did you apply for the loan?
I'm sorry, we must have muted her.
Oh, okay. If you applied for the loan, say, several days ago, it is taking a little bit longer to complete the decision-making process, because there's been a huge influx of these applications. And so if you've applied for the loan, you may have to be a little more patient than what we originally had understood. At one time, there was discussion that could be you'd get your financing within 3 days, but the demand has far exceeded the capacity for SBA to actually process these. Now, CJ or Janet, do you have any additional things to add to this in terms of some clarification? And I understand someone from Carrie Hurd, the director of the SBA, or the district director in Seattle, is also on the call with us.
No, Duane, that's not the case. So just if CJ or Janet have anything.
Sure. This is CJ from Bellingham. So I just wanted to clarify that the economic injury disaster loan is an actual loan. So, and that is a 3.75% loan that can be amortized up to 30 years. What the CARES Act did was allow for a grant to be coupled with that. So when you're applying for that loan, you're going to be eligible for a grant for real. Don't have to pay it back. And it's $1,000 per employee. We are hearing that people aren't getting notifications right away that even if the application's received. We know there's 2 million, I believe I heard this morning, applicants in the portal. But hang in there, because we are hearing stories of people actually being funded money in bank accounts. So there's two things. There's a loan you're applying for. You don't have to take the loan if you don't want to. And then when you do that, you're also eligible for the grant portion of it. Does that clarify it a little bit?
I think we're going to make a change here. We're going to be sure the caller stays on the line through the entire question and answer. But unfortunately, we didn't do it for that one. But but thank you for clarifying that, CJ and Duane. I really appreciate that because we are getting that question a lot in my office, both through emails and on the Facebook site. I would also note that, again, CJ is in Bellingham, Janet's in Everett, and you could go to the WSBDC.org website and get their numbers as well, which is why I wanted them on here tonight as well. Joe, let's go with the next question.
Yes, next question is from Clinton Jones, has a question about unemployment. Clinton.
Yeah, with all of the job losses and the economic times that we're having, is there any relief with unemployment security about job searching, and what goes along with that?
In terms of looking for jobs, you mean? How we're helping people?
Yes.
Thank you so much for that question, and it's Clinton, correct?
That's correct.
Wonderful. You know, that is another thing that happened both in the prior act. The CARES Act is, in fact, the third piece of legislation that Congress passed. They have expanded the amount of money that is available for what's called dislocated workers. We actually just applied for a $54 million grant, and hopefully we'll get that. Plus, we actually do have significant funds available in our rapid response funding in the Everett area, including. So please contact the local WorkSource office, and they will be able to connect you up with job training opportunities, with interviewing skills. We have shifted to an entirely virtual WorkSource model across the state. You can find where those resources are by going to worksourcewa.com. We also, in the next few weeks, are going to be launching a virtual job fair. What we've seen is a really tectonic shift in employment, where there are many areas that have laid off a number of folks, but at the same time, there are a number of areas that have been hiring really dramatically in spaces just such as grocery and delivery services, cleaning services. We actually have been hiring at the unemployment insurance customer care center. We also have seen significant increases in healthcare, which is interesting because there's a shift from doctors' offices to more hospital spaces. And so there are a lot of jobs available, and there are a lot of national virtual jobs available as well. So I really appreciate that question, because I think we get so focused on unemployment as opposed to reemployment, and there are a lot of opportunities there and a lot of funds and a lot of resources. So worksourcewa.com, and you can also get to that off of our esd.wa.gov website.
Thank you.
Yeah. Suzi, this is Rick Larsen. I want to expand on that question a little bit. Has the Employment Security Department waived previously established steps that people had to take?
Thank you. I was hearing job search in terms of people looking for a job. I got on the very optimistic side. We have, in fact, waived the job search requirement or work search requirement. So if you are on unemployment, we call it job search optional, because we would like people to still look for jobs, and there are still jobs available, and we would much rather somebody get a job than get unemployment insurance. But we understand that these are exceptional and extraordinary times, and that is not viable for everybody. And so, yes, we have waived the job search requirements. So when filing a weekly claim, if you have not checked the box and filled out the work search information, it does not trigger. It does not trigger negatively. You will be fine.
Yeah, great.
Thank you for that extended question.
Sure. Joe?
Next up, we have Dr. Walter Shaplow. Has the question about assistance for migrant workers. Dr. Shaplow, you are live.
Yes, sir. We attempted to file for the disaster payroll loans and relief. We're going into our tree fruit farming season for cherries, and we were unable to successfully fill out the application because we weren't sure how to deal with employees that we will have but we don't exactly have today, but we will be hiring next week. How do we deal with that, sir?
Could you walk, Doctor, could you walk through the conditions again you outlined?
Okay, so
just exactly like you said it.
Okay, so we own a small tree fruit farm, and we're getting ready for our cherry season. And we will be hiring quite a few people starting next week at the beginning of our season to prepare for the growing and harvesting and producing of our crop. We are impacted because we don't have enough payroll funds right now from our normal operating loans because they haven't funded from the banks because of the situation, and we didn't have any boxes to check box for our situation on the disaster recovery loan or the payroll loan.
Okay, I got it. Duane, were you going to try to start to answer that?
Boy, that is a question that I have not heard yet. CJ or Janet, have you heard anything about that yet?
This is CJ again. Yes, I have heard a little bit about that for only on the payroll protection plan. So the payroll protection plan is the forgivable loan that you're going to go to your bank and get through a banker. So this is not on the SBA.gov portal. You need to go to your SBA lender for this one. And there are provisions in the Q&A that allow for seasonal worker eligibility. So I would suggest for the PPP that I would suggest doing it quickly, going to your lender and working out some of those calculations with your lender. But there are provisions for seasonal businesses.
And this is Rick Larsen. I'll just follow up. I'm sorry, this is Rick Larsen. I'll just follow up. This sounds, every person's situation is pretty unique, and this sounds fairly unique. And Doctor, I understand you're in Chelan County. And I don't know, Duane, do you have someone based in Chelan County as part of the SBDC that perhaps you can contact directly to?
Yes, we do. Ron Nielsen is in our Wenatchee office, and he also is on our website, again, at the contact an advisor link on our website.
Excellent. So would that be, could you try that, Doctor? Would that be okay?
Yeah, we'll give it a shot, and I'll let you know, Congressman, how it goes, because we're pretty nervous about hiring people if the funding's not going to be there, if you understand what I'm saying. Yep,
I understand. All right, you do that.
And I would, and if I could, I would also add that Ron Nielsen will be jointly delivering those two webinars I mentioned tomorrow at 1 o'clock and 3 o'clock.
All right. I'll make sure that we listen into those, and I thank you, gentlemen.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you.
Next question from Pansy Edenshaw. A question about unemployment. Pansy, you are live.
Hello, and thank you for taking the time to. I know my voice sounds raspy. I've had bronchitis. But anyway, my question is on the unemployment. If you're on unemployment, does that 13-week extension carry on, or do you have to reapply for that?
This is Suzi LeVine. Thank you so much, Andy, for that question, and I hope you feel better soon. I'm sending you some virtual throat lozenges along, but at a safe social distance.
Yes.
So you will be able to, it will automatically continue. You would not have to reapply in order to get those 13 weeks. Now, I want to just say there is one thing to consider. Have your benefits already exhausted, or have you not gotten on benefits yet, or what is the current situation there?
Right at the end of it.
You're right at the end of it. So
yeah, meaning I don't know if I have, if this week is covered. I did file on Sunday, and nothing was said on the recording about anything, so I just assumed that the money would be in my bank account this morning, but nothing's there.
Got it.
And
so if you just exhausted, so you should keep filing. It will. The 13 weeks are retroactive to March 29th, and so you should be able to extend. And we are still awaiting the guidance on the 13 weeks. We received the guidance on the $600 and the expansion, but we have not gotten the guidance on the 13 weeks yet. So keep filing, and we will then pay retroactively. In terms of whether there's an action that you need to take, I don't believe so yet. But when we get the guidance from the U.S. Department of Labor, if there is a change in that, we will let you know.
Okay, appreciate that, and thank you for taking the time to listen to me.
Absolutely. Thank you. Take care of yourself.
I will. Thank you.
Thanks. Joe?
Yes, I just want to remind everyone, we do have a lot of people on the call right now, and we have a lot of questions still to get to. If you have a question, press *3 on your keypad. Also, if you would like to sign up for Congressman Larsen's e-newsletter, where you can get updates on the COVID-19 outbreak, and I know we will be sending out our resource information. It's on the website, larsen.house.gov, but please press 1 on your keypad now to sign up for that e-newsletter. We will go to our next question, which is from Dana Gray, and she has a question about independent contractors. Dana, you are live.
Hi. Thanks for taking my call. It's actually Dinah, but that's fine. I get that all the time. I am actually calling for a friend of mine who is an independent contractor. She owns her own business. She doesn't have any employees, so she really was confused about whether she could collect unemployment or does she have to do the loan thing, which she doesn't really want to do. But and if she does do the unemployment, how does the $600 additional work? You get that on top of what you would normally get. Like I think there was an example of $50,000 a year would equal $488 a week. Would you get $488 a week plus an additional $600?
So Dinah, this is Suzi. Thank you so much for that question for your friend. As an independent contractor, if that person has been impacted by COVID-19, and we will have more descriptions around the rules and eligibility up on the website. For one, please ask her to sign up. I shouldn't assume that the gender of the individual, your friend. I would say your friend. Please ask your friend to sign up for our action alerts on our website, esd.wa.gov, and we will have the instructions for them as well as the eligibility descriptions. In terms of how much they would receive, that you were correct. It is the weekly benefit as calculated by us plus the $600, and that is through the end of July. So July 25th will be the date, the final date for the availability of the additional $600 for that benefat. On the website also is a calculator so that if they want to go through and estimate what their weekly benefit would be so that they can determine what the total amount would be, I encourage them to do so.
Okay. And then would they pay all the way back to March 29th?
Depends on the date when they were impacted. So if, for example, their business was kind of humming along and it was April 4th, the answer would be no. But we will have instructions about that. But if they were impacted back to March 29th or prior to that, then the answer would be yes. So it will be retroactively paid to the date when they are eligible.
Great. Okay, that answers my question. Thank you so much.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And please tell your friend that we are thinking about them and hope that everything turns out okay.
Yes, I will. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much. And I have a follow-up perhaps for Duane or Janet or CJ. In that situation, what kind of advice would you give someone who's looking at, should I try to, if I'm an independent contractor, should I do the unemployment or should I should I look at a loan that turns into a grant? How would people make those choices?
Good question. I'm glad you asked that.
Well, you know what, Congressman Larsen, this is Suzi. You know, I think one of the key things is the purpose of, I'm not going to give somebody advice one way or the other. They need to make their own decisions and make their own calculations. But fundamentally what these loans are intended to do, and what other things like the paid sick leave and paid family medical leave are intended to do, which allow businesses to have a full 100% tax write-off when they extend these to their employees, is to keep people on the payroll. People want the dignity of work. And if we can keep people on the payroll and keep them connected with their employers, that's awesome. And so for small businesses, whether it's the loans, or we have a program called Shared Work, and Shared Work allows employers to reduce the hours of their employees, but then to utilize unemployment insurance to do partial wage replacement against if they reduce them by 10 to 50%. And so that is much more optimal than laying somebody off where they lose their job protection and the dignity of work. So it's hard to calculate the monetary value of that, but there's certainly the social and emotional value of that that's really important to keep in mind as well.
Yeah.
If I could ask something really quick, that was the thing is she is an independent contractor, but she has no employees, and that's why she wasn't thinking about filing for the loan, because it seems like the loan is all about keeping your employees employed, and she doesn't have any employees. She just works by herself.
Yeah. Great. Yeah,
so
good.
That's why the unemployment seems more appropriate.
Right. And that could be a deciding factor as people are thinking about their choices here.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Let's just thanks a lot. We'll just go back to Joe then for the next question.
Yes, next question is from Karen Pedoza. A question about people who are on Social Security disability. Karen, you are live.
Hi there. Thank you for having me. I'm disabled right now, and like many of us, we've spent little too much getting emergency supplies, and things are very tight right now. I've been hearing a lot of different things about whether or not a stimulus check will be available for the disabled. So what I feel really needs to be clarified is, number one, are people on Social Security disability going to receive a stimulus check? And number two, do they have to file a tax return, which we haven't in years, in order to receive a stimulus check?
Thanks, and I'll take that question. It is a very popular question. Obviously, as people are considering or being hopeful about getting the check, the short answer is yes. You will be getting up to $1,200. If you make $75,000 or less, you will get $1,200. And then between $75,000 and $99,000, you'll get something less than $1,200 down to zero if you make over $99,000. So let's assume in your situation you're below $75,000.
Every disabled person is below $75,000.
I understand that. I'm just trying to speak generally here. That's all. So you would get a $1,200 check. Now the question is, will it be paper or will it be direct deposit? What the IRS is going to do, what the IRS wanted to do, is require everybody who did not have direct deposit information with the IRS to file a simple tax return, a paper return. So then the IRS would have something on record and then send you a paper check.
Mm-hmm.
What we got the IRS to do was back off of that plan, and by the end of April or early May, the IRS will have a web-based portal. So you would go to the irs.gov website. There will be a portal there where you could put in your bank account information, and then they would issue you a direct deposit check. And direct deposits are going to take place before they do the paper checks. So if you take these steps, you will get your $1,200 check, presumably sometime in May. After which, then the IRS will start processing paper checks and mailing those to the tune of about 5 million checks per week through until they have run out of checks to send, which I think is like 20 weeks from that period of time. So if you want to get a direct deposit, you'll need to wait for the IRS to establish the web-based portal, and that will be late April or early May. So that's the second question. Answer to your second question, and the answer to your first one is yes. You do not have to be a taxpayer. The law we passed does not require you to be a taxpayer to get a check. It is strictly income based, and so we're really just trying to figure out a way to get these dollars in the hands of people sooner rather than later, so you can do with that money what you will do. I do want to make two notes about this too for everybody listening. One is we're doing outreach to the groups that do senior services throughout my district. So think if you're in Snohomish County, there's Homage Senior Services. They already have a set network of people who do a lot of outreach and help for seniors, and especially low-income seniors, and for people who are on disability insurance as well. So we're going to talk to these groups about this particular issue and get them prepared to think about how they might be able to help communicate to seniors on Social Security as well as to folks in the disabled community as the best way I think we can that we know to kind of clear the brush from this trail so there's a clear path for people. That's first. Second, we are already seeing web scams go up on this issue alone, as well on other issues regarding the CARES Act. So I want to alert people to be very vigilant about scams in this time. I'm not trying to scare anybody. I'm not trying to frighten anybody. I am surely want to ensure that maybe you're just taking an extra 10 seconds to ask yourself if something pops up in your email or pops up on a website that's an ad. Ask yourself, does this sound right? Because there's a lot of scammers out there whenever a disaster hits, and unfortunately, there's scammers out there during this disaster too. It's terrible. I don't like it. I hate it. We try to stop it, but that might be out there too. So that's your public service announcement part of the call tonight.
Right.
But thank you very much. I think you'll be all right. We're going to be sure that you have a chance to get that direct deposit.
So we wait for the web portal to open in late April or May. We go to irs.gov, and then basically sounds like there's really no separation between people who make money, and have a job and pay taxes versus people who are disabled. They're just basically going by income as far as who receives the stimulus check.
That is specifically how we designed it. That is on purpose because we wanted to be sure that people were able to get dollars into their pockets.
Okay. Yeah. Great. Thank you very much.
Yep. Thank you. Joe?
Next question is from Dennis Berger. He has a question about medical coverage for people who have been laid off. Dennis, you are live.
Okay, thank you very much for your time. So the crux of my question is that of a person that's been laid off because of this crisis and they lost their medical insurance. Is there any coverage, or is the unemployment meant to pay for that?
Dennis, this is Suzi LeVine. I'll cover a couple of aspects of this. The Health Benefits Exchange has opened up the sign-up system again. So if you do need to sign up for health insurance, that is now open. The open enrollment has reopened. So that is something that you may want to consider in terms of how you would use your unemployment insurance funds. That is up to you in terms of the application of those monies.
Okay, so the cost of the insurance would be our burden, I guess, for less of other words. Is that right?
It is. It is.
Okay. All right. Well, I was just looking for a clarification, which you gave me, and I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Have you explored COBRA?
Oh, good Lord, no, not the cost for that.
Fair point. Having been in and out of the job market and where in the past I had to use COBRA, I get it. I hear you.
Oh, my God, you got to get a second job to pay for the COBRA.
It's true. It's true. But so the Health Benefit Exchange has open enrollment right now in light of what's happening for folks and because people who are getting laid off are losing access to their employer health coverage. So that said, I know I and many others are looking forward to when we have a public option and when people don't have to win the boss lottery in order to have good coverage.
True. Okay, well, thank you very much, and good luck and good health to everyone out there.
Thank you so much. Take care to you as well.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Joe, next question.
Next question is from Sharon. She's in a small rural school district that does not have internet access. Has a question. Sharon, you are live.
All right. Thank you very much. So, Congressman Larsen, our small rural district, Nooksack Valley School District in Whatcom County, many of our surrounding districts and many of the districts in eastern Washington, our children don't have access to the internet. So in our district, we're sending home packets each week for the children in terms of schooling. But what else can you do to help us to get internet access for our families that don't have it in these small rural areas?
Thanks for that question. This is a big conundrum that COVID-19 has laid bare in our state. It is how to actually close the digital divide in K through 12 learning, because as technology based as our state is, school districts all over the state are finding that within districts there's still a wide digital divide, and between districts there's a big divide as well. So, for instance, in my district in Everett, the Everett School District, coverage is pretty good. But if you go to San Juan School District, in some areas of that district, there's no coverage at all. So the reason I review this is just to let you know I understand what you're saying. I've been on the phone with teachers. I've been on the phone with the school district superintendents all over the district. And there's nothing I can do immediately in terms of the assistance, but we did include in the CARES Act a large amount of dollars for the Department of Education to fund grants for school districts where we're finding gaps. And we're going to do another tranche of money in the next version of the CARES Act as well for K through 12, including money for closing the digital divide. But some school districts are being creative, and some are using their buses as mobile hotspots. The challenge there is how to get a good deal from the provider of the internet service, and some providers have been good with school districts to provide a cut rate, if you will, to help out. Others have driven harder bargains, and so I think that's an issue. I know it's an issue that is on the radar of the governor's office and on the radar of the Office of Superintendent of Public Instruction. And so we'll highlight that again for them. But given the fact that the decision has now been made to go the school year through the end of the school year through June by not bringing kids back, it becomes even more critical to do what we can to close these gaps. That's the best answer I can give for you tonight. It's a problem I've identified, others have identified, and the governor and the superintendent have identified, and we're all trying to close those gaps the best we can right now.
I appreciate that, and I just hope you'll continue to, fight for us in Congress to look at ways that are across our nation, because there are so many small rural districts across the United States of America. It's not just my little Nooksack Valley district and so many in eastern Washington. If there's a way nationally we can look at what children need so that when we're dealing with these health issues, that we can make it possible for children to access learning more effectively. So thank you so much.
Okay, you're welcome. Joe?
Yes, next question is from Bruce Sinks, has a question about nonprofits and how they can apply for PPP funding. Bruce, you are live. Bruce?
Hello?
Yes, hi Bruce. Rick Larsen here.
Oh, hi. It's not Bruce. This is Brian Carroll. I'm the CEO of Secret Harbor in Northwest Washington, child welfare agency that does foster care and residential care, and we're providing 24/7 work for DCYF. I just wanted to quickly thank you, Congressman, for your caucus's work on the CARES Act and for the work that was done to make sure that smaller organizations and specifically that nonprofits were included in that final package. That was awesome. I want to get some feedback, and I have a big question. The feedback is we've been trying to apply for the PPP loan through our local bank and started on Friday and still have not been able to fill out an application. Our name was taken and we were put on the list. Yesterday I talked to a real person who couldn't find us on the list. And anyway, my question is just around, the decision that individual banks have to process this when some of them have limitations on them. And, the big Wells Fargo fiasco this weekend, my big question is, we haven't even applied yet. It's been 5 days. Is the money going to run out before we get a chance to do that?
This is Rick Larsen. Certainly I can't make a promise to you that the fund that exists for the PPP, the Paycheck Protection Program, is going to run out. It is a $350 billion fund. There's already talk in Congress of adding to it. The PPP is seen as one of several key tools to help small businesses and nonprofits. So, but again, I don't want to make a promise to you that the money won't run out, but it's unlikely. The second thing I'd like to clarify for you is, I'm confused on, did you talk to your banker or not about your application?
My physical bank is 100 yards from my office, but they're routing it all through a central location. You fill out an information form that will then lead to an application at some point, but we've had no communication back from them at all. I talked to an actual human yesterday that couldn't even find me on the list. So I know that everybody is overwhelmed trying to implement this. I'm just kind of worried about it because I'm on a national listserv and I've been watching other CEOs comment about it. And it's, some people have applied and everything's sailing, especially those in the Midwest, and a lot of other places are just running into the same kind of challenges. So just wanted to
throw it out there as an issue so that folks are on top of it too. Thanks so much for all your work.
Yeah, sure, and thanks. And I'm not trying to say this is rolled out perfectly, and I think Duane would probably agree with me, but there are local banks, and I don't mean local branches of national banks, I mean literally local banks who are SBA preferred lenders, who are now, this is Tuesday, since Monday, have been delivering dollars to their borrowers in the PPP program. And so it is happening locally here. And but regarding your specific circumstance, I appreciate you bringing it up. They are overwhelmed, but I do know that the SBA apparently today, at least for one bank I talked to today, that the E-Tran system that the SBA uses had no hiccups. It didn't crash. It worked perfectly. So maybe they're working out the kinks on this. But Duane, do you have any follow-up on that?
Well, I would also add that you might want to go on to the SBA website and look for their list of preferred lenders. And you may just need to make a few phone calls. But I do reiterate what you had said, Congressman Larsen, that all of the lenders are truly overwhelmed, and they're doing their best to ramp up as quickly as possible. But this is a lot to do in a very short period of time. But I would suggest. Yep, go ahead.
I'm sorry. It's my understanding that I'm required to go through the bank that my agency uses. I have a bank manager from another bank that's on my board of directors, but I can't fill out the application with his bank because I have to go through my bank, and my bank's not responding. So that's just the kind of things that some of us are bumping up against.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Understood.
Thanks. I would ask for that bank's phone number, but I don't think you need to share it with everyone else on the phone. But
this is CJ. This
CJ?
is CJ. If I could just jump in really quick. I'm at WWU-SBDC. If you can just give us a call or give me an email, I think we can talk a little bit more specifics. I don't know how much I'm allowed to talk about specific banks on this phone call, but I would love to dive into those details with you, sir.
Yeah, and that was, again, WWU, Western Washington University, www.sbdc.org.
Sorry, .gov, but let me just back up. Let's just keep. Why don't you get me through WSBDC.org?
All right,
I'm sorry. We should keep funneling everybody through our main website, please. Thank you.
Right.
Can you? I'm sorry. One more time, a little slower. WS.
Yeah,
I'll take care of it.
Okay.
I got it. WSBDC.org.
Thank
all right?
you.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Thank you all. Thank you all for your focus tonight. Appreciate it.
Fair enough. Joe, next question.
Yes, and we're getting short on time, but next up will be Patrick Wilson, a business owner from Arlington, Washington. Patrick, you are live.
This is me.
Patrick, you're on. Are you on mute, Patrick, or what? I'll give you 3 more seconds, Patrick, then we'll have to go to the next caller. All right, Joe.
A reminder, if you're unable to get your question through, you can always email rick.larsen@mail.house.gov after the call, and there will be an opportunity for voicemails. The next question will be from Connor Rostel. Connor, you are live.
Hello, Congressman.
Hello.
Yeah, I can hear you loud and clear.
Great.
How do I say this? See, this is a lot to say. How will we all just as society, just as a country? It's like right now, I'm sort of in the state of like pointing fingers of like trying to find somebody at fault, or like if this person didn't go there or did this wouldn't have, or some politician enacted sooner. What steps can we see that will be done to make sure something like this doesn't happen again, and what we're going to have to do and what it's going to require from all of us?
Yeah. Do you mean another pandemic and the impact it has on the economy like this? Is that what you mean?
No, just something along the lines, just socially, just our everyday way of life.
Yeah. Well, let me try to answer that by saying this. First off, I think that if you looked at how quickly Congress acted, it had to be bipartisan. You had a Senate Senate controlled by Republicans, a House controlled by Democrats, and you saw in the second package where the House Democrats sort of took the lead in developing it, and it went over to the Senate and they passed it. In this package, the CARES Act, the Senate took a lead. It didn't really meet a lot of the goals that Democrats had, but it took I will say this, in Congress time, this is very short. It only took 6 days for us to sort out differences and get a vote in the Senate that was unanimous, and a vote in the House that would have been nearly unanimous if we actually had to vote on it. But we went through this procedural thing of a voice vote because there was enough support for it. So I think that one thing to point out is that in a crisis situation, the immediate response was to try to find ways to work in a bipartisan way to move things forward. The other thing I'd point out is I've been in Congress nearly 20 years. This is my 5th health pandemic.
You've been in 5?
Well, we had SARS in 2002. We had MERS, H1N1, Ebola. Yeah, Ebola, and now this one. This one's the worst. And the others had different impacts, not as great impacts. H1N1 really hit the agriculture community more particularly.
Yeah, remember that.
Yeah. But the point I want to make is I've been in 20 years. There's 5. That's every 4 years on average. I can assume in 4 years we're going to have another kind of pandemic. Maybe not as bad as this one, but something. And we ought to have learned from this one to prepare enough for the next one. And there are things that we can do in Congress moving forward. Part of that will be looking back. Part of that will be looking back on what we didn't do right, and that's going to be uncomfortable for a lot of people. But in order to learn what you need to do right in the future, you need to figure out what you did wrong in the past. And
that makes sense. I'm a student at Everett. So.
Yeah, right. So we can prepare for that. And so there's going to be a lot of look backs in order to prepare for the next one and put the pieces in place to be ready. And I think that's fair. And I think Congress, individual members like myself and everyone else, we ought to be judged somewhat on the lessons that we learn and the things that we might be thinking about in the future so that we're better prepared next time.
Congressman Larsen, do you mind if I chime in? This is Suzi, a little bit on that?
Yeah, sure, Suzi. Yeah, go ahead, Suzi.
There are 2 aspects that I think, for one, I have some thoughts in terms of what we can do better for the future and how we think about the structures of our organizations. But one of the key things I get asked a lot is, when are we going to be able to emerge? And I think it's more a question of how. And we aren't going to get back to normal, but we're going to have a new normal. And the how will be when we...
That's what scares me a little bit.
Right. But the how is going to be when we have more pervasive and ready testing, when we can track people's contacts, but in a way that protects civil liberties, and when we don't have to suspect whether somebody is contagious or not. And that's otherwise, if we flatten the curve and then start coming out again, will hit another curve. So we need to have some of those, but it's going to feel super awkward. And how do you interact with people, and what's the protocol, and what's the etiquette? So it's going to take a little while there. And then eventually we will have a vaccine and have the immunity. But one of the things that I know as somebody who runs an unemployment insurance system is that how we fund and manage that system is based on looking back. And we've had some boom years. So it's like buying shock absorbers for a flat road, as opposed to thinking about how do you predict what might happen and prepare for that, knowing that that's the system that you need to have. And we have short memories, so we forget, like, oh, wait, we need to prepare for that, not for the comfort that we've been experiencing. So I hope that Congress and our communities and our society can learn from this and really shift how we think about the role of government in our lives to prepare us for these types of moments.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Connor,
Hi,
thanks for your...
May I speak a little bit? This is Janet.
Oh, Janet. Hi, Janet. Yeah.
Hi. I had a little technical difficulty with my phone. It was a new phone, and it went kind of black. So my IT person was on the other side of me with a webinar going on with his work. I've got it taken care of, but I wanted to speak to how do we make sure on the business level that businesses will be able to focus on something like this or expect or plan for something like this coming forward. And our answer as far as Small Business Development Center advisors is to contact us, become a client, and that's what we do with our clients, is we work with them free, no cost, I should say, confidential, usually one-on-one with the business owner to help them understand more in depth about their business, walk them through strategies to reach their goals that they express that they have. But it's something that seems foreign to most, but we are there to help. And by contacting us, we bring you in, register you, have you all set. And once you're registered, you do get information as we get information. So it's a benefit to the business community to know your SBDC advisors.
Okay.
Great.
Well.
All right. Hey, Connor, thanks so much. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it. And Joe, do you want to, got time for one more maybe?
Sir, I think we've run out of time. I would say to everyone on the line, thank you so much for your patience and for contributing your questions. We had over 7,000 people dial in or join us online tonight at some point. So I want to thank everyone for your patience. Congressman, I'll turn it over to you for final remarks. And if Suzi and Duane would also like to offer brief final remarks as well to wrap us up, and then I'll let everyone know if they do have a question, how to submit that question. Again, you can press 1 to join our e-newsletter as well during this time, but I'll pass it over to you, Congressman.
Yeah, so I'll just want to thank my guests, and I'll turn it first to Duane for any final comments.
Yeah, thank you. And I would like to echo Janet's remarks, and just to remind everybody that we also provide some business resilience webinars and training and cybersecurity training, or webinars, or at least creating the awareness of cybersecurity and how to prevent hacks and things like that. Those things are also on our website. So I think to address what Connor's question was and others is, once we get through this, be thinking about how, at least to all of the small businesses out there, how can we react in a positive way as best we can given the circumstances. And so I would encourage everyone to look into that. And I would also wrap it up by saying, remember all those small businesses out there. Let's continue to support them. Order out, order takeout from restaurants. Do whatever we can to support those small business owners, because they truly are the fabric of each Main Street and the fabric of America. So thank you, Congressman, for inviting us today.
Yeah, thanks. Suzi?
Again, I want to echo that point on thanking you for your work on these different phases that help our communities, our economy, and our well-being, Congressman. Your advocacy has been amazing on this front. And to thank all of your constituents who are participating for staying home and staying healthy. They are helping Washington State lead the country in how we address this and how we treat each other humanely and graciously. And I wish everybody good health. What I also want to do is, most importantly, point people to esd.wa.gov to please sign up for our Action Alert newsletter, where we will provide information and instructions, either if you're eligible today or if you'll be eligible under the new Pandemic Unemployment Assistance Program. And we look forward to serving you and to helping people during this very challenging and unprecedented time.
Thanks so much. And I want to thank Commissioner LeVine and Director Fladland as well, and his team and the Commissioner's team for all the hard work you guys are putting in to trying to make this as smooth as possible for a lot of people who are in fact hurting, and we do know that. To the folks who were able to ask questions, thank you so much. For those who weren't able to, but you have instructions. You'll have instructions from Joe again to get us that question, and we'll do follow up on everything that we hear tonight. I would note, I think by tomorrow, we should have this whole telephone town hall audio up on the website, I think, or just look to the website and to the Facebook site for directions on how to get the audio. And as I understand it, C-SPAN also wants a copy of this, and so it'll be archived at C-SPAN as well. So very exciting times for us. So thank you all very much for being on the call tonight. Let's keep in touch. We'll let you know when the next telephone town hall is going to be. And stay home and stay healthy. Thank you.
Thank you, Congressman. And again, just want to thank everyone for taking the time to join us tonight. Appreciate the opportunity to speak directly with you and answer questions. As the Congressman mentioned, if you weren't able to get your question in this evening, and there were a lot that were in the queue, you can leave a voicemail at the end of this call. Just wait until it is over and follow the instructions. You can also send us an email message at rick.larsen@mail.house.gov, or you can call our office tomorrow, 425-252-3188. As the Congressman mentioned as well, we have resource documents for individuals and small businesses on our website, larsen.house.gov. Please follow the Congressman on social media, and we will have an audio recording up on the website and social media at some point tomorrow. Again, thank you, and we hope everyone in the 2nd District in Washington State stays safe. Have a good night.